The day I first saw the AlienQueen, I was covered in engine grease and regretting every life decision that had led me to the outer edges of the Orion Arm. My name is Daniel Mercer, Senior Maintenance Engineer for the United Colonial Freight Alliance. My job was simple: fix ships that broke down between star systems and try not to die doing it. The problem was sometimes the things that broke down weren't human ships. Our cargo vessel, the Meridian Drift, had responded to a distress signal from a massive alien vessel drifting near a dying blue star. According to the sensors, the ship was nearly 3 kilometers long and made of some strange organic metal hybrid that none of us had ever seen before. It looked less like a spacecraft and more like a living creature frozen in mid-flight. And apparently it belonged to royalty. That's how I ended up standing inside a gigantic alien throne hall, trying not to stare at the being sitting on the elevated platform ahead of me. The AlienQueen. Her name, according to the translator device clipped to my collar, was Queen Vaelthera of the Celestari Dominion. She was intimidating. Nearly 8 feet tall, with smooth silver skin that shimmered like liquid mercury under the chamber's violet lights. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, and a crown of thin crystal-like structures rose from the back of her head like a halo. Her gown wasn't cloth, but some kind of living energy that flowed slowly around her body, like a quiet flame. Around her stood armored alien guards, each holding elegant but deadly-looking weapons. And there I was, a human mechanic with grease on his sleeves. The royal translator orb floated beside the queen and projected her voice into English. "Human engineer," she said calmly. "You are the one who repaired our primary energy core." I nodded awkwardly. "Yes, Your Majesty." The crew had expected to deal with technicians. Instead, we were summoned by the queen herself. No pressure. She studied me for a moment with those glowing eyes. "Your species is unusual. You repair technology that is not your own without fear." I shrugged. "Well, when something's broken, you fix it." One of the alien guards shifted slightly, clearly unimpressed with my casual tone. The queen leaned forward. "You have saved my royal vessel from destruction. The Celestari Dominion rewards those who aid us." A tray floated forward carrying a small crystal container filled with glowing fragments. Even I knew what that was. Star crystals. The rarest energy source in 3 sectors. That little box alone was probably worth more than my entire lifetime salary. "You may accept this gift," the queen said. I stared at it, then looked back at her. Before that, can I say something?" The guards immediately stiffened. The queen tilted her head slightly. "You may speak." And that's when I made the comment that shocked an entire alien empire. I scratched the back of my head. "Your ship design is kind of terrible." Silence. Absolute silence. The guards raised their weapons slightly. The translator orb flickered, as if unsure it had translated correctly. The queen's glowing eyes widened. "You believe my royal vessel is terrible?" I nodded honestly. "Yeah." A guard stepped forward. "Your Majesty, allow me to..." The queen lifted a hand. The guard froze. She stared at me, clearly stunned. No being has ever spoken to me in such a manner. I swallowed. "Sorry, but you said I could speak honestly." She slowly leaned back on her throne. Then she asked something no one expected. "Explain." The guards looked at each other in confusion. "Explain?" I hesitated, then sighed. "Well, if I'm being honest, your ship's energy system is badly designed." The chamber filled with murmurs from alien advisors. "That is impossible," one of them hissed. I gestured toward the ceiling. "Your main reactor feeds power through a central nervous-style energy network. Looks cool, but if one junction fails, the whole system collapses." The queen said nothing, so I kept going. You also built your cooling vents on the inner shell instead of the outer hull. That traps heat inside the core chamber. I pointed toward the holographic model floating nearby. That's why your ship almost exploded. The advisors started whispering faster now. The Queen's expression remained unreadable. Finally, she asked quietly, "You claim you could design something superior?" I shrugged. Honestly?
Yeah.
Another dangerous silence. Then something surprising happened. The Queen laughed. It wasn't cruel or mocking. It sounded amused. A primitive human engineer believes he can improve the technology of the Celestari Dominion. She looked directly into my eyes. Very well. The chamber lights brightened. You will attempt to prove it. My stomach dropped. Wait, what? You will remain aboard my vessel and redesign the core systems. I blinked. You're serious? If you succeed, she said calmly, you will be rewarded beyond imagination. And if I fail? I asked carefully. She smiled slightly. Then my advisors will be proven correct, and you will be released. That sounded safe enough. Or so I thought. Over the next few days, I learned something important. Alien royalty had absolutely no idea how hard engineering actually was. The Celestari ship was beautiful, but its systems were unnecessarily complicated. It looked like their designers valued elegance more than practicality, which was great for aesthetics, terrible for survival. I spent hours inside the reactor chambers, crawling through glowing energy conduits while alien scientists watched in horror. Why is he touching it? One whispered. Humans do that, another replied nervously. Queen Veilthra visited the engineering chamber on the third day. She stood on an observation platform while I worked. You appear comfortable inside the reactor. I climbed down from a ladder. Yeah, reactors don't scare me. She studied the glowing conduits. Our engineers have worked on these systems for centuries. Yeah, I said, wiping grease from my hands. That's the problem. Her eyes narrowed slightly. I quickly added, I mean, sometimes when people work on the same thing for too long, they stop seeing the obvious problems. She seemed to consider that. What would you change? I pulled up a holographic blueprint. First, decentralize the power grid. Her advisors immediately protested. That would reduce efficiency. Not really, I replied. It adds redundancy. I looked at the Queen. Basically, if one system fails, the others keep running. She stared at the blueprint silently, then nodded. Proceed. And just like that, I was redesigning an alien royal warship. Weeks passed. Slowly, the Celestari engineers began respecting my work. At first they thought I was reckless. Then they realized my changes were working. Energy efficiency improved. Heat output dropped. System failure stopped. Even the advisors had to admit the human engineer wasn't completely insane. But the biggest change happened somewhere unexpected. Between the Queen and me. She visited the engineering deck more often. At first to observe, later to talk. One evening she stood beside me while I adjusted a cooling conduit. Your honesty that first day was unusual. I laughed. Yeah, people tell me I should learn diplomacy. Why do you not? I shrugged. Because if something's broken, pretending it's perfect doesn't fix it. She watched the glowing reactor core thoughtfully. In my court, honesty is rare. I glanced at her. That sounds exhausting. She smiled faintly. It is. That was the moment I realized something. Queen Veilthra wasn't just curious about human engineering. She was curious about humans.
About me.
3 weeks later, the final test arrived. We activated the redesigned reactor system. Every engineer and advisor gathered in the main control chamber. The Queen stood beside the central console. Begin activation. Energy surged through the conduits. The reactor core glowed brighter. Numbers climbed on the monitoring displays, then stabilized. Perfectly. No overload. No heat spike. No system collapse. The ship hummed with smooth, steady power. One of the alien scientists gasped. Efficiency increased by 42%. Another whispered, stability 100%. The Queen turned slowly toward me. You have succeeded. I smiled. Guess humans aren't completely primitive. The advisors bowed slightly toward me. A moment I never expected. The Queen approached. You spoke honestly to me when no one else would. She looked at the reactor. And because of that, my flagship is stronger. She paused. Then asked something surprising. What would your people call such a person? I thought for a moment. Probably a friend. Her glowing eyes softened slightly. A friend. She extended her hand. Then, Daniel Mercer, will you remain as my royal engineer? I blinked. Wait, permanently? The Celestari Dominion values those who improve our future. I looked at the massive alien ship around me, then at the Queen. A strange smile formed on my face. Well, if I'm staying, I'm redesigning the weapon systems too. Her advisors gasped again, but the Queen laughed. And this time, no one tried to stop the human from speaking honestly. Ending. Years later, historians across the galaxy would record something remarkable. The Celestari Dominion entered a new golden age of technology and exploration. Their ships became the most advanced vessels in known space. Their alliances expanded. Their empire stabilized. And at the center of it all stood an unusual partnership. An alien queen and the human engineer who once told her that her ship design was terrible. When asked how such an unlikely alliance began, Queen Vaelthera always gave the same answer. A human once told me the truth when everyone else feared to speak. Then she would smile faintly, and it changed the destiny of an empire.